Do some of Jess's actions make you uncomfortable? My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. I really appreciate the way this question was worded. I had a lot of people on the video in which I was talking about defending Jess Mariano, and they came in and they said, yeah, he assaulted Rory. You should not be defending him. He is a monster. And I disagree with that, but I like the way this comment says the scene made you feel conflicted. And it should. It's an uncomfortable scene. For those of the who are unaware, I can't find a good screen cap of it because the scene is quite dark. So Jess has just found out that he is being forced to basically either repeat 12th grade or drop out and get a GED when he is brilliantly smart and he is falling way below his capabilities. So he is disappointed, he is ashamed of himself, but moreover, he is really, really angry at himself for disappointing Rory because he's not going to be allowed to take her to prom because he's no longer a graduating senior. But he has not had the guts to tell her that yet. And then they are at a party. He goes upstairs. He's kind of moping because he's got all of this crap going on in his life. And Rory follows him upstairs. They end up kind of kissing and making out. And like one thing looks like it's going to lead to another. She says, no, no. And she kind of like, no. And then he pulls off of her and he's a jerk about it. He does not handle it well in the moment. He gets really upset. She rightfully also becomes very hurt and upset and feels betrayed, and she starts to cry and she says, I don't know what I did. And she runs from the room and he immediately realizes, like, oh my gosh, she thinks it's about the kissing. Oh no, you didn't do anything. And he goes to run after her to try to apologize and explain things, or we never really get to see what he's planning to say or do because Dean sees her running and crying and starts a fight and punches Jess, and they break a window and they break a bunch of like expensive little figurines and stuff. So like we never know what Jess is actually going to do, but you can see that he's like, oh, you didn't do anything. And the acting choice that Mila Ventimiglia makes in that moment makes it seem like, oh, no, she's taking this all wrong. She needs to know that that's not what I meant. And leading up to this, in the couple of episodes previous to this, there's been a lot of very like horizontal making out. Jess says, no, let's go somewhere, like hinting, wink, wink, we're going to do some things that can't be in front of cameras. And Rory says, keep thinking what you're thinking. And then she immediately goes home and tells her mother that she is planning to have sex with Jess. She is planning to make things physical. She kind of couches it with like a, huh, maybe, maybe not. But she basically is saying, like, yeah, she's ready to make things very physical with Jess very soon. Now, be very, very clear. Consent needs to be ongoing. It needs to be enthusiastic. It needs to be clear. Rory's allowed to change her mind at any given time. She's in a stranger's bedroom without a lock on the door. She has every right to say no. I think she's making the right decision in that moment to say no. And in the video in which I defended Jess Mariano, I acknowledge that he's a very hurt, broken, angry kid who is in no position to be anybody's boyfriend, and using sex to cover up all of your bad feelings about your shame and embarrassment is maybe not the healthiest choice here. So I think all in all, them not doing the deed was the right choice for them at that point in the relationship. But I also don't think that this rises to assault. He's been given a lot of green flags. She says no, he backs off, and he's angry about something else. She misinterprets it, rightfully so. I don't think she's making any mistakes here. I don't think she's doing anything wrong, but she doesn't have all of the information that he has. And so she doesn't understand why he's so angry and why he's so upset. This is part of why like communication in relationships is really important, because he's not actually mad about her saying no. He is mad at himself and ashamed and angry and embarrassed and all of these other feelings, and it's coming out wrong because he doesn't have any communication tools. He doesn't have any way to be in a healthy relationship. He's not good at this. He's not capable of doing this in a healthy and responsible way. But to this original comment that came in, the scene should make you feel conflicted. The writers did not present this as a thing for you to say this is good and this is bad. And you can even hear in the way that I'm equivocating about all of these behaviors is that it is complicated. It is messy. They wrote a scene that is realistic. They wrote a scene full of decisions that are gray, that are unclear. And this is something that the internet does not handle well. The internet really likes for there to be a good guy and a bad guy and for there to be no nuance in between. But good storytelling and good writing often has a lot of nuance, often has a lot of things where you're like, I don't think that was handled well. That's real life. That's good storytelling. So a really good story, well written, with complex characters who are making messy decisions should sometimes make you feel uncomfortable. Now, there are ways to do it that are not dealing with such heavy and dark topics. Jess Mariano's character is pretty dark, especially for primetime family network TV in the 2000s. This was not super common for us to see these types of kind of like dark, heavy characters. They certainly were out there, but it was this was not the norm for like family friendly network shows. And so I'm not going to defend that scene or those behaviors and say like, "No, you should definitely think this was okay," because it's not. It's messy. And good storytelling will stick with you for 20 years after the fact and make you keep thinking about it and wondering like, "Man, what would I have done in that situation? How would I have handled that differently? How could he have handled that differently? Do I see his side of this? Do I see her side of this? Do I see Lorelai's side, who Lorelai just comes down on, he's a jerk, and from the information Lorelai has, she's right. She doesn't have any more information to be able to offer him any compassion in that moment. And so she takes the side that she feels is right. And that's the best that she can do in that moment, also. Good storytelling will be full of complex characters making messy decisions that do not often have right or wrong answers and should leave your audience thinking about it and chewing on it for a long time after the